This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. Hey everybody, Carm Capriato, Remarkable Results Radio. Good to have you here. Early 2025, a lot going on in the entire world. And we are continuing we have so much fun doing this. I just want you all to know that. And I'm passionate about getting stories told. We have a great episode today on family succession. I look at it like this. Out of all of the shop owners and all the people that work in the industry, there is a ton of family, ton of independent people that are working for great family businesses that have an opportunity to succeed the owner, be it independent, non-family, or family. How do you do it? We've done episodes on this before, but we really decided let's get the family together along with a great friend of the podcast, Dr. David Weiman, psychologist, and let's have a great discussion. In the meantime, thank you so much to our great sponsors. You know, for over 30 years, NAPA Trax has made selecting the right shop management system easy by offering the best, most comprehensive SMS in the industry. We'll prove to you that Trax is the single best shop management system in the business. Talk to our people. Find NAPA Trax on the web at napatracs.com. And are you ready to optimize training? We'll do it with today's class. Now, roll out a training plan for your automotive shop in just 5 minutes daily. Boost knowledge, retention, and improve team performance. Start seeing results today. Join your peers at todaysclass.com. Hey, yes, don't forget to please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would be great. Hey, here's my panel. It's a team. It's a great team. Dr. David Weiman is here from Weiman Consulting. I think this will be maybe your 11th or 12th episode. Thank you so much for gracing our airwaves. Jessica Carino is here. Carino, I should know, huh? He's a female shop owner of the year 2023 from the Woman in Auto Care and owner at Sparks Tire and Auto, St. Charles, Missouri, in St. Louis area, right?
Correct, just outside.
Just outside of St. Louis. Ron Tinner is here, Jessica's dad. You can see the resemblance.
I'll claim it.
Jessica did get the better look here.
Amen.
Aw, thanks, Carm.
Part owner, you do all the work, I'll take all the blame. Right, Ron? Is that how it works?
That's exactly how this goes.
And the COO of Repair Shop of Tomorrow and also a business coach. So lots of legacy, a lot of solid industry experience here. Here's why we're doing this episode. A lot can go right and a lot can go wrong in a family succession plan. Doesn't matter if it's family or if it's not. We covered this with Jessica and Ron 5 years ago. I looked it up, and we had a very interesting talk 5 years ago. Talk about planned knowledge transfer inside of any succession plan. We want to maybe define the roles, and I think that's one of the talking points for us. Find some professional guidance if necessary, and then figure out what the financial stuff's all about, and I think that's really key. Dr. David, I really want to start with you because you are a management consultant and psychologist. Factors in well-performing family businesses, doctor, what do you see?
I should say I also worked in a family business for 12 years. And I guess because so many family members are entrepreneurs, there were clusters of family businesses around the family. I lived it and have some perspective, and that was as I was becoming a psychologist. And I think it would have been better if I'd become a psychologist first. And one thing I can say just is, if you're a psychologist in a family, you're the last person anyone asks about anything psychological because they don't think you know what you're talking about. The factors that I've seen both in my work as a consultant and from some of those prior experiences is, first, there's sort of this natural attachment to what the family business is. So if it's a family jewelry store, everyone likes jewelry. There's nobody there who's a hostage, and doesn't really like whatever the family business is. The second thing is they really seem to enjoy working together. They have fun together. It enhances that relationship. The third thing, which might, and I'm super interested to hear what the father and daughter feel about this, but at least in my experience professionally and directly, having clear boundaries is super helpful. So I worked for my aunt and my first cousin. She was Sonia at work, and she was Aunt Sonia around the Thanksgiving dinner table. And we were very clear about what that role would look like and how we would interact in the business. I was the vice president of marketing of a publishing company, and she was the owner of the company. My cousin was the publisher. I feel like in the best situations I've seen, people genuinely enjoy being around each other. They like, not only do they have an attachment to what the business is, but they enjoy each other as well. two other points, there's really good clarity around roles, responsibilities, and what the future is going to look like. And that clarity helps. So in my personal situation, my job responsibilities were clear. The owner's responsibilities were clear. My boss's responsibilities were clear. And we tried to keep those things in operation. And of course, any good organization has clarity around goals, roles and responsibilities, processes, and relationships. In the family world, I think it's even more important to do that. And finally, a non-family trusted advisor who can help make decisions, smooth ruffled feathers, and give somewhat detached advice. I realize that's not always possible or entirely possible, but in the best situations I've seen professionally as a coach and consultant, and also in my own experience, there was somebody who wasn't a family member who was highly regarded and who helped make tough decisions and helped and just served as a really helpful, I'd call it a thought partner.
Before we get into Jessica and Ron, David, I got to ask you, I got to make a comment. Multiple family members in a business, they each have their own talent, but someone has to be the president or the chief something officer of the business. And I have seen this firsthand when the dad has not appointed someone as a final decision maker or the chief cook and bottle washer. And then there's no direction and everybody's, it's almost like a float that's going on. You cannot reach the ground. Your comment on that?
You've hit on one of the things that causes these to go sideways. One of the things I would say is that's bad in a business without family. When there's family, it's just more intensity of emotions, both positive and negative. So that can create even more problems because people fill in gaps with whatever's in their mind, right? And so when there's a lack of clarity around who's supposed to make those final decisions, or there's deference to somebody who's maybe got one position in the family, but a different position in the business, that lack of clarity creates problems for sure.
Thank you, Dr. David. Ron, take us back to the day that you and Jessica just sat down and says, hey, I've watched you. We've been talking about this forever. It's time to make this thing happen. Step up. Take us back. Explain how we're, 5-6 years into it now?
Yes. So the funny part about this whole conversation is, and listening to David talk is really interesting because 2000, I bought my shop from the gentleman that I worked for. My wife came to work for me in 2001. When I say for me, we had very defined lines. We were husband and wife at home, and we were not husband and wife at work. If you would have asked me 15 years ago, we wouldn't be sitting here talking because Jessica had no desire to have anything to do with the automotive business. She didn't like cars. She wanted nothing to do with being a part of what we did until she got out of college. And when she came to work for us in a administrative role, marketing, so on and so forth, she suddenly grasped a pure love for business. Still not so much a love for automotive, but the business itself. And that's where she really excelled. And that's where, for me, I had to redefine my roles. Just the buck always stopped with me. Whether it was good or bad, it always stopped with me. And she was able to take a lot of that on as she got further on over the years in the business to where the buck could stop at her. I had every bit of trust in her. I had no doubt she'd make right decisions. Once she got a coach, I was coached for the last couple of years that I ran the business. And once I turned her over to him, that's that person that made hard decisions that between the two of us, we wouldn't agree on sometimes on which way to go. And when he weighed in, that was the decision we finally would go with. So yes, that third party is very important.
Jessica, do you recall at all going to your dad and saying, let me do this, I want to do this?
Yes and no. It wasn't like I have to do this.
I don't mean take over the business. Let me rephrase that. It was a particular job that dad was doing. If it was paying the bills, if it was doing interviews, and you say, hey, Dad, let me interview the next one coming in. Did it ever get to that?
It did. It started with, I really wanted to take some stuff off of his plate. He was so overwhelmed, and he was gracious enough to bring me on in a time in my life where I needed a job to survive. And this was really, 2008 when the economy was first in a decline. He was gracious enough to give me a job. And I was like, what can I do to help you? He would give me little jobs here and there. And then the more I learned, the more I would take on and progress that way. And even then, when I first came on, I didn't know that this would be the way my life would go and that I would take over the whole business. but I'm so glad that I did.
Ron, it's almost like when you have family and you're watching them, you're loosening up the rope and they're pulling the rope toward them. The litmus test that family members go through with other family members, your intuition that says, wow, she's getting this. This is great. I've given her a lot of rope. She's really doing well with it. Did you find yourself coaching during those formative years? There's a laugh going on somewhere.
To be honest with you, I coached probably a little more than I should have, to a point where now she'll come to me and say, hey, I want your opinion of something. I'll say, you know what? You got a coach. Call your coach. Because some fact of life is dad's going to weigh in as a dad. Your third party's outside view from 30,000 feet of what's really going on, and listen to him. If I disagree completely, I would tell you I'll make a different call. But since he's my mentor when I was needing a coach, I trust him undoubtedly. So as should she.
I do.
Just amazing. Jessica, what is your greatest challenge as, if you will, the CEO of the company, as you think about where you've been, maybe what you're getting coaching, what you're studying, what you're learning, your greatest challenge today?
Today's greatest challenge, and I think anyone in the industry would most likely agree with me, is adapting to the new style of technicians.
So let's call them these young specialists that are out there, right? We want to bring them in. What's the greatest challenge with them? Is it they need more time? They want more money? They won't go to training? Help me with this.
They are not money motivated. I have 4 young guys in the shop and none of them are money hungry. And it's a unique position to be in. Sometimes I don't know what I can do to motivate them more. In the past, you just put an incentive there and cool, I can make more money. I'll work harder. Now, today's technicians are not programmed that way. So it's really adapting to figure out what we can do to, as business owners, to motivate our staff. They're a great, young, very educated group, but then there's still types of cars that they can't work on because they're younger than a carburetor.
That's a mouthful right there.
It is. So you have to really adapt your business as to what you can take on. And that's kind of what I've learned in the past, year and a half, 2 years. You have to transition what you can work on.
Are we talking Gen Millennials?
No, they're more Gen Z. I mean, my guys are 25 and under.
Wow. Dr. David, you got to chime in over here because you've seen this, I'm sure of it, the different generations. How do we motivate Gen Z?
It's interesting what's valuable and important to them that's very different than the generation before them. But I'm reminded of Daniel Pink's idea of intrinsic motivators. And he said the traditional things that are used that are external, that Jessica was mentioning, pay, bonuses, and things like that, are external rewards. But he found these what he called intrinsic or internal motivations. And the 3 were autonomy, mastery, and purpose. You kind of look at what the person does in their spare time that they love doing for some guidance to that. But those intrinsic motivators are things people generally know about themselves. And so we often ask people, what is something that you're not doing right now that you want to do? And see what they say. It may be they want to learn something about running the shop that's not directly involved with fixing a car, but they're already thinking it. So asking that question can give you some insight into something they want to learn. Of course, as the owner, you might say, I can't necessarily give you what it is that you're looking for, but I'm sort of interested. Is there anything you're not doing right now that you'd like to be doing? And is there anything that you are doing that you wouldn't like to do? No, that's a riskier question, but believe me, they already know that. But often just understanding who they are as a person, what they value, and what they do in their spare time is really important. So that's where the link to those intrinsic motivators is. Autonomy is working on their own. Mastery is getting better at something. So if they like to play the guitar, they're teaching themselves. That's an example of mastery as an intrinsic motivator. And purpose is the connection to something greater. In Pink's book and in some videos that he's done, he gives these wonderful examples of these amazing things that were put together by people who weren't being paid for it, to Jessica's point. So that's a way of tapping into that.
I find it fascinating, Ron, Jessica, that you have such a young staff. Or maybe it was on purpose.
Well, what I have to give her credit for is, and been in the industry too long, so 40 plus years in wrenching and ownership, I would tell you this. The group of technicians that we're seeing today, the young ones, are something we probably haven't seen in at least 30 years. They're young, they're motivated, they want as much knowledge as they can get. Their technology is phenomenal. Back in my day when I first came into the industry, you had to be a good mechanic willing to accept some technology. Today, you got to be a technology specialist, as you like to say, willing to get your hands dirty. It's a completely different industry, and the young people that she has managed to come up with are just phenomenal technicians, and they can't get enough. We've got 2 that are 25 that are master technicians, and it's just incredible guys, and they want to learn more every day. I like where the industry's headed. We've talked for so long now, Carm, about shortage of technicians. There aren't any good quality techs. The ones that are coming in now have a lot of promise. So I'm really hoping that we've seen that turn, that we've come around the corner, and now we're headed down the stretch with good people again. So we'll see.
Well, I appreciate this little side discussion, Ron and Jessica, about your young specialists that are working in the bays. And I know we're here to talk about succession. I do want to get back to it, but I've got a burning question for you, Jessica. Where are you finding them?
It is online. I do a lot of different online searches through, Facebook, Indeed. It's going to where that generation lives. They live on their phones. They live on a screen. And that's where you have to go to find them.
It may seem like a side conversation, but really, without good techs, young techs in today's world, Jessica's opportunity for succession doesn't exist because, to be honest with you, the staff that I hired in that building over the years, outside of the general manager, is no longer in that building. They worked for me. They respected me. They had that mental capacity to be with me. Once I stepped aside and got out of the business, it was a completely different, I don't want to say hierarchy, but it wasn't run the way I ran that business. And they wouldn't conform to Jessica's way of doing things. So she's brought her own crew in that respect her and will do anything for her. So that succession had to come with the changing of the guard.
It's also very difficult to inherit a staff. It just is.
I will say one thing, and this is not meant to be rude in any form or fashion. The way Ron Dad ran a shop, I don't think he could lead the team that I have today because he has the mentality of the old school ways of how things were ran and how people were motivated. You have to change with your staff. And I think having an owner my age or younger that has just taken over is really helping them. They don't have this gentleman that is been in the business 40 years trying to dictate what they need to do. Not that he's a dictator, but it's different for them.
Really good point.
And I've been called a dictator before, so I'm okay with that.
This is huge. You said Ron or Dad. Tracy and I have that same problem. Carm or Dad? No.
Like we spoke earlier, that at work, it was always Ron, unless it was just he and I in the office alone, and then it was Dad. You have to have those boundaries. Work is work, and home is home.
Let's face it, your shop management system is the single most important tool in your shop, period. NAPA Trax was built from the ground up to make your business more profitable and efficient. We provide an extensive set of tools to increase and track profitability in real time. NAPA Trax offers the industry's best post-sale support, hands down, and we train your people on site. Yep, on site. And we offer remote refresher training 10 times a week, and customer support is open 6 days a week. Give us a call, visit the website, or join our Facebook community today to learn more. We'll prove to you that Trax is the single best shop management system in the business. NAPA Trax is always customized and tailored for you, whether you're a one-man shop or a large multi-bay or multi-location company. After all, it's your shop, so it's your choice. Visit us on the web at NAPATRAX, that's NAPATRACS.com. Strengthen your shop's entire team with today's class. Everyone from technicians to service advisors can access impactful training on their phones in just 5 minutes a day. Opt for solo sessions or ignite friendly competition, challenging team members to climb the leaderboard for the highest score. Our effective daily training ensures measurable progress, helping you develop your team. Train smarter, not harder, with today's class and transform your shop and your people. Start seeing results today at today'sclass.com. You have a new client, Ron, and it's an established 55-year-old client with a couple of sons or some family in the business, and they go to you and they say, hey, I really need to start planning something for succession. What do you think I need to do to start? What would you tell them?
In the coaching side of my life, I hear that quite often, right? Generation is starting to age out of ownership, and you're either going to sell it off or you're going to succeed. You're going to have a succession plan. For me, the first thing when they say I have somebody in mind, we have a long conversation, because I had somebody in mind years ago and it wasn't her. I was lucky enough to only have one child, so the decision was going to be easy. Either it was Jessica's or it was somebody else's altogether. If you have multiple children in the business, it becomes a very interesting conversation as to which of your children do you think is going to be the successor. And for me, after weeks or months of talking, it usually winds up not being the one that they thought it would be. Because when they sit down with them as a family and they start planning, putting plans in place, what they thought would be the guy or a gal who wanted to take it over is usually not the one that jumps up and says, hey, I'll do it. I'm interested. I want to be that person. Usually they're not.
I have to make a comment on this, and that would be some parents, Dr. David, with multiple children in the business just don't want to make that decision.
No, and that's where we help, because otherwise it becomes Shakespearean or biblical in terms of how it looks. And look, we have biases in life, and cognitive biases in particular, which is just a particular way of looking at something. It is very difficult to separate these things out. Like Jessica saying, well, he was Ron when there were other people around, but he was Dad if it was just the two of us. You're always in that relationship, but you're in other relationships as well. And it's complicated. So psychologists who are consultants, and there's an entire division of the American Psychological Association of us who are consulting psychologists, we help in the following way. We help the owner develop a profile of kind of the ideal leader or ideal person to take over. And then we can do an assessment of each of the candidates for that and provide feedback. Why is that helpful? Well, first of all, we're able to look at it using data from established methods and assessment tools to help identify leadership strengths and also development opportunities so you can help plan that succession in an intelligent way. And also, oftentimes somebody will tell us, and this is the Shakespearean part or the biblical part, the one who's chosen and identified by a parent as the likely successor has told me in private meetings, and this has nothing to do with your business, but for this being my dad, I wouldn't even work here. So sometimes they'll share things, and they may have shared similar things with Ron in the course of what he was talking about, getting to know somebody, share things that they might not necessarily feel comfortable telling the parent, whether they're telling a psychologist consultant or a coach like Ron or somebody else who's not involved in the family. That assessment or interview process or data gathering is really important. It is really good to have an idea of what the ideal successor looks like, and then look for those qualities in the folks who are waiting potentially to be the next big cheese.
Wow. Yeah. So Jessica is the singular child. So lucky for you, Ron, that you didn't have, say, multiple family members. I love the idea of building the profile and working with the family. And this is what we're looking for. Let's see if we can check how many boxes we can check. If there's 1, 2, or even 3 children, hopefully the business is big enough to support all that payroll and different kinds of jobs. But when that dad or mom picks that ultimate leader, not only do they, if you will, bless that individual, the other children have to understand this is the final decision. If there's a tiebreaker, I may have to come in, but you need to respect the decision being made by your brother or your sister. And to me, if not, it'll all crash and burn.
More times than not, as a coach, I find that, if there's 2 or 3, once the decision is made, the others are grateful that they're not the ones that were selected. They would prefer not to have had to step up and say, I didn't want that spot. But
Yep.
once they're not selected, they're actually a sense of they're happy. They're not upset at all. 9 times out of 10, I find that there's much less stress in that conversation than we were expecting. I don't know about Dr.
Really
David,
good
but
point.
for me, I always have that fear going in that we're going to have this travesty in this family. And it usually doesn't work that way. Usually they're excited not to be the chosen one.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And related to that, there are sometimes siblings who are not in the family business who think they would do an awesome job and no one has noticed them or tapped them. So that's another piece of it. Because obviously, look, there's a financial piece to this as well. And that's where having a good attorney matters also because of the financial piece of this. Who gets what out of this family business? Who are the heirs? And some of those heirs are in the business and some of them are not. And they can have their own opinions about how much of that business they deserve. I hate to use that term, or feel entitled to. Maybe that's a better way of putting it.
I've never been in this position, but when you're starting that conversation, it's important to ask all of them, would you like your role to be? Don't just assume that this person wants to do this and this person wants to do that. Ask them, what do you think the role should be? And you may be surprised with what the answers are. They may all agree.
Mm-hmm. Really good point.
So are there any new successors, Jessica, in your family?
No.
There's not any new ones. We have one that's she's already asked which business she's going to take over. So, oh yes, she's headstrong about being part of the business. So, and I got to tell you, what made it easy for me to pick Jessica as that person to go ahead and move forward with things was I wanted somebody early on in my ownership years, the day I was going to get rid of it, wasn't going to be a technician. I saw myself and everybody else that I was in business alongside of. We were all technicians that bought ourselves a job, worked way too hard, put in way too many hours, wore way too many hats. The ones that were business people and weren't technicians had much less stress and were every bit as successful, if not more successful, because they weren't worried about jumping out in the shop and filling the hole. Once she started to grow, there was no doubt she was going to be that person. So she didn't have the technical background, which made it very easy for me.
The great mentality to have if you're looking to succeed your business is this. Your business is worth more to whoever, outside or internal candidate, to yourself, if you don't have to be there every day. Period. It's got to learn to run without you.
Ron is reminding me of something like I've never met a mechanic or technician who wasn't a problem solver all the time. It's not something you easily turn off. And so, because I know people who aren't even in the auto business, and when they're driving by one, they see something and they're a good problem solver, like an engineer. They go, oh, well, I think if they added another bit, it's like you can't stop yourself from doing it. So I think sort of an occupational hazard of coming up through the business, through the technical side. And then only because how can you not look into the shop and see something going on where you're like, I wouldn't do it that way. I would do it this way. So occupying the mind that way is also, in addition to what the other aspects of that Ron was talking about, it's hard to just turn off that part of your brain. I don't even know if there's a way to do that. The problem solving part.
It kind of reminds me of some coaches that I've interviewed and talked to. Says, well, we've got a really tough challenge with this one particular individual who wants to succeed their business, but they can't, they micromanage it. They have to be on the floor. So now my job is they work 1 day a week from home, then 2 days a week from home.
Sometimes you have to do that.
And change the locks.
You laugh at that, but I moved away just so I wouldn't walk in the door, because when you walk in the door after you basically fire yourself, when you walk in the door and they ask you why you're there, the assumption is there's something wrong. Why did you have to come into the store? Well, I still own it, so I'd like to stop in once in a while and say hi. They prefer you don't. They want you to trust them to run with it and just let them do what you hired them to do. And I'm all about that now. So,
I mean, could that be the toughest thing for any owner that has seen a path of success and sees a succession going on, is to let loose, give it up?
As a coach, that's the hardest thing for me to get people to do.
Yeah. You say, okay, let's work from home for a couple of days. And, I can't do any more QuickBooks. Stop it. You, Ron, you're a COO of RSOT, you're a coach. Do you have to find, some of your clients need to find a hobby or something else to do? Work in charity, work in community?
You'd be surprised the ones that at first, when you take them on, tell you, we always tell them, my ultimate goal is to give you a work-life balance. Stop working 65, 70 hours a week in your business. Spend time on it and then go do something for yourself. And the amount of them that pick up drag racing or pick up golfing or pick up fishing to get away and finally understand that CEO time is very important. Escape that business and go do something for yourself. You'll be better for it, and so will your company. Once they grasp it, it's fascinating. You can't get them to come back, which is good. But when they realize that business will run without them in it, if they put their processes in place and they trust people, it's all but it's much better for them and it's much better for the people in that building to not be hovered over.
I would highly agree.
I figured you would.
But I will say, yes, he moved to Florida, so he's not in the business all day, every day. He just decided to start another business instead. No hobbies.
Yeah, but Jessica, just hearing from you saying, thank God you moved away, Dad, and I love you to death and thank you for this opportunity, but if I'm going to fail, I need you around. I don't want you to fail when you're gone, completely gone. Come on, give me some freedom to learn on my own. Isn't that the strongest message?
Absolutely. I know that he is there and my coach is there if I have any questions or if I mess up, if I do something wrong, if something is going horribly bad. I know I have them that I can call upon. They learned on their own. I've got to learn on my own as well. I've got to get that failure experience.
Yeah. There's also, as I'm listening to Ron and Jessica talk, and I've known both of you for 34 minutes, but you seem very aligned on values, not just family values, but your business values, and very aligned on the process of this separating out ownership and the way that it was done. And I have a feeling that even if Ron lived a little close, maybe one state closer, that there's still a meeting of the minds when Ron, and this is not a family therapy session because that's not what I do for a living, but Jessica asked him a question and he said, talk to your coach. She didn't say, God damn him. Why won't he tell me? They have a meeting of the minds around how to solve problems or how to use resources. And part of what Ron is describing, and I think he must have been very resourceful about this in his own career, was having the right resources around you. You both talked about that. What Ron established in the crew that was there was a really good fit for him. That doesn't mean that they have to stick around forever. They didn't sign a lifetime contract, but it's reorganized around Jessica in a way that's also very successful. So there's something in the DNA, something that you guys ate at home. I don't know what kind of ketchup you used or what, but that was in good shape. But I think even as you're talking in this call, there's kind of a model for that alignment around goals, roles and responsibilities, processes, relationships, and values, that's all in sync. I imagine if they had to independently fill out, a questionnaire about what their general approach is, it would look very similar. It's being done in different ways because the team is different and has different requirements, but the right people are in the right spots. That's my takeaway from this. Sorry for the outburst, but
it's really funny that you say that because when in October, Carmen, we were in Masterminds in Cleveland, we did a DISC evaluation as a team with our Platinum group. Jessica and I couldn't be more opposite peoples and personalities in how we approach business, but the end game is the same. We both want the same. We both get to it. We just go from a different angle, right? So you touching on that, Dr. David, was pretty interesting because I think about that day a lot, is how different we really are when I really didn't see that in her, right? So,
it was really funny. We were always opposite corners in every DISC assessment.
Yeah, completely opposite.
Yeah, and the key to DISC and knowing each other's DISCs, be it on the counter, be it with our people, is to have the conversation of the DISC style, conversation. I'm a high I with a D over the line. And when I want to go talk to an accountant, I got to have the accountant style discussion. I know you work so hard to be so accurate, but if I wasn't thinking of that and understanding that communication style, I'd say, where the hell did you get these numbers?
So sure.
I agree.
Right.
I think I've heard that this year.
I want an answer right now.
That has a lot to do with that turnover in the shop too, because I'm a high D, extremely high. And the team that I built knew that that's how I ran the business, whereas Jessica's not that person. And
right.
When they expected my mentality in the shop, that wasn't who they could handle out there. It wasn't Jessica's way of doing business, but she's very compassionate to these younger people, which is what they need. I mean, as polite as I can and say that, not all of them do, but most of them do. And she has a very good way of handling that. I would not.
Dr. David, think of what he just said. She's the exact opposite of me. Ask the people who they want hanging around the business, Ron or Jessica. They probably, Ron, go.
But there's another piece to it. So I think of what the kind of the psychological contract is that somebody signs when they join a company. So the folks who joined the company when Ron was running it, that was one set of expectations. It's a very different company now. It's a very different business now. But what they signed on to, I can understand if he's leaving and it's being, it's going to be run by somebody else. That's not the company they joined anymore either. Right. So that cuts kind of both ways. Like the folks who joined with Jessica, they have one set of expectations in terms of that psychological contract that they signed. And if she left and somebody else came in, they might not like that contract anymore. So,
and I think it really is, some of the people were hired on when I was in high school or college. So that was before I was even in the business. So me transitioning into somebody that has more authority that they have to listen to was hard.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still my elders, yes, but now I am the one that signs your paycheck. So you kind of have to listen to what I do. Not dictating, but it's a hard transition for some people.
This was great. It went to great places. Thank you so much for being here. We could probably sit here and talk for 2 hours and come up with really good stories, but let's go around the room. We'll do Ron, Jessica, and Dr. David. About a minute. Anything we didn't cover you wanted to cover, Ron?
Honestly speaking, I think that this conversation today makes it pretty obvious when you're looking for the thought of a succession plan instead of selling your business to just an outside entity. Stop and look at personalities, stop and look at and grasp what's going to happen when you do step aside. The generations have changed and I can no longer run the business at my age and be confident in being able to put in the time necessary. My technicians aged with me. They couldn't either. So with Jessica coming in, younger techs coming in, it's got a future in front of it, right? For me, when I talk with clients about succession, it's usually look at the youngest person in your group, look at the youngest person in your family, the one with the most administrative skills, not technical skills, because this is no longer a repair business as much as it is a technology business and a business. It's got to be run by a business person, not a technician. So,
amen, Ron. Thank you so much. Jessica, final word.
The looking to the future. Yes, I have that young staff to keep me going, but I have to start, in the next 10 years, my daughter will be 21. Is this what she wants to enter into the business? Do I need to start my succession plan with her? Are we going to stay where we're at this point, or do we need to expand? Those are all things that it may be a decade away, but I have to start thinking of how we're going to do that now. You have to think ahead.
Okay, Ron, you better build a house next to yours.
Please.
I guess I started something. Dr. David Weiman.
To follow on to what they both said, and what I hope is a takeaway from the call is that succession planning is an essential business function like any other aspect of the business. And so I find the best way to do it, to follow on to something Jessica just said, is make it an annual process that you look at. Have a complete roles and responsibilities chart laid out with who's doing what, or deliverables chart, and just make that a normal part of business so that because it's not some exotic thing, whether it's a family business or family run shop or not, it's helpful to think about who's going to move up, who wants to stick around, because you don't want to hit a point where you thought somebody was in it for longer than they apparently were. And so having ideas about where somebody sees themselves in a few years is maybe they want to retire early. Maybe they want to sit on a boat drinking a beer and with a fishing pole rather than work anymore, no matter what it is. So my key point would be to make succession planning, consider it an essential business function, and review that once a year.
Wow. Excellent stuff. Dr. David Weiman, Weiman Consulting. Jessica Carino, Female Shop Owner of the Year, 2023 from the Woman in Auto Care.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Ron Tinner, Shop Owner, Shop Owner, Sparks, COO and Coach at RSOT. This was great. Thank you. I'm glad we updated this from 5 years ago.
Yes.
Agreed.
Much success to all of you. Thanks.
Yep. It was great to be with you.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.